Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we get to continue my favourite series of the perfect off-season, rebuilding NFL teams. Today, a favourite of mine, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Shout out Tony Rogers for the video, and let's get right into it. Now the Philadelphia Eagles ended the season in a bit of a strange way, pulling Jalen Hurts in a big game against the Redskins, making it seem like a purposeful loss. Now, the only thing they lost in that game really was their head coach. Doug Peterson got the chop, and a whole new coaching staff has came in. Nick Sirianni is the new head coach of Philadelphia. The ex-Colts offensive coordinator ran a nice balanced offense in Indianapolis, and from what I've been told from insiders, held his team very accountable. It looks like a really good hire from the Eagles, who seem to have regretted letting Frank Reich go there, and is not going to poach his staff back. His offensive coordinator in Philadelphia is now Shane Steichen. Now, Steichen ran the offense last year in the Chargers. For anyone who watched the Chargers, it was a great offense. They ran the ball well. Herbert looked elite, and I think that's a big reason they brought in Steichen. It was also a balanced offense, but it was explosive, something Philadelphia has missed for a few seasons now. Defensive coordinator-wise, they brought in Jonathan Gannon, the DB coach in Indianapolis. I think Gannon's biggest career achievement is making Xavier Rhodes a good cornerback again, because when he left Minnesota, he wasn't. The DBs last year in Indianapolis looked very good. A very good defense they ran under him, and I think that was a smart decision. If you look at the Eagles defense, the problem is DB. If you look at the Eagles offense, the problem is explosive plays and a balanced offense. They've brought in a coordinators, and they've brought a head coaching that fills these gaps. I like all three hires here. There's a couple names I threw about. Gerald Alexander, the DB coach in Miami, ran the best DB unit in the league. I thought he could have got a look at this job, but bear in mind, he was a first-year assistant. I think these three hires are all good hires, and they all fit the hard-nosed, rugged city of Philadelphia well. Now let's look at our cuts. I'm not going to beat around the bush too long here. There's a few players that I think are going to get let go. First one's going to be Derek Barnett. The first round pick a few seasons back hasn't really hit the ground running. Yes, he's made an odd play now and again, but I feel like the telling stat for him is his snaps count. He only played 41% of snaps last year, and cutting him this offseason will save $10 million. For those who don't know, the Eagles are at about minus $65 million in the cap. They are struggling financially badly, and that's including the contract changes, the restructuring of Alshon Jeffrey, etc. So I think Derek Barnett gets released, saving $10 million. I also think they release Avonte Maddox, $1.5 million to $2 million saved. He also played only about 40% of snaps this year. Safety, cornerback mixture, but was never very good at anything. The DB needs an overhaul, but I think the problem in Philadelphia was that they have some good DBs. I like Jalen Mills. I like Roby Coleman in the slot. I love Darius Slay. But then the players who play, apart from them, not good enough. Rodney McLeod had a good year, but was injury prone and is slowly getting slower and older. So I think they let Maddox go into free agency. The other name I'm going to throw up there is a sad one, and it's Zach Ertz. Whether you cut him or whether you trade him, the same money gets saved. It's about $5 million. Ertz, you saw how emotional he was at the end of the season there. He knows his time's up. Dallas Goddard seems to be the number one tight end now in the team, and I think it's a smart move for Philadelphia. Saves money, and I think they will recoup a draft pick for him, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to release him, because I'm not sure what value he has, if I'm being honest. So we've got our coaches, we've made a few cuts to save some money, we haven't got a lot of money, so who are we going to bring back? A lot of names in the chopping block in Philadelphia, and we're going to bring back 4 or 5. The only big name I'm bringing back that's going to get paid is Jalen Mills. I think he's an underrated safety. I think he's very good. You saw last year he played over 90% of the snaps. He's obviously a big part of the secondary. 2 years, $10 million, I think is a needed deal. And what it does more than anything is it allows you to hit the draft on different positions. You don't have to worry about getting that safety anymore. The other 4 players I'm going to re-sign are Nate Sudfeld, Boston Scott, Greg Ward, and Nikhil Roby Coleman. All at a couple of million a year, not big deals. You know, some of them are getting 3 years, $6 million. Some are getting 2 years, $4 million. It's just to keep them. I think Roby Coleman is a good slot corner. On the outside, he gets bullied because of his size, but we're going to hopefully fill that outside role opposite Slay and let Coleman sit in the slot, his preferred position. Overall, this leaves the Eagles with minus $51 million in cap space entering free agency. And before I cut to some long free agents, let's get it out of the way now. Philadelphia Eagles are not signing anyone big in free agency. It's the sad truth. When I make these videos, I don't necessarily look at all the depth picks that we can sign in free agency, trying to fill small holes. I look at the names. Who's going to be a game changer? They're not going to get one in free agency this year, sadly. So with that being said, let's talk about the needs, and then we'll get straight into a mock draft. There's an argument to be made for Philadelphia that outside of the tackles, they need help everywhere. Interior defensive line and offensive tackles are the only position they're perfect at. But I like to break it into 3 areas. Number 1 obviously is cornerback. They are desperate for a corner. This class has a few nice ones. Number 2 is wide receiver. Last year they took Rieger in the first round, saying they didn't want Jefferson. But reports coming out of Philadelphia would make it seem that it wasn't as clear of a Rieger's better than Jefferson pick. More of a, we wanted an outside guy, and they felt Jefferson was more of a slot player, and it's understandable. It's not a whiff of a pick if you're picking for a better fit, and that is respectable. Now, the other position they need is linebacker. They have had linebackers such as Duke Riley, Nate Gary, just to name a few. I have not seen a good Eagles linebacker for about 3 seasons. Howie Roseman never seems to care about the linebacker position, and it shows. It is disgusting to watch them play. Horrible. There's a clip, I'd love you look it up, of Nate Gary playing cover 2, middle centre field, and before the ball is snapped, he is facing his own end zone. I can't describe it. The linebacker core in Philadelphia is horrendous, and it needs overhauled. So we're looking to get wide receivers, cornerbacks, and linebackers in the NFL draft. And welcome to the draft. Philadelphia are in a magical position in 6th in the draft, where they have all 3 position needs and have elite prospects at all 3. Now, Micah Parsons is going to drop down the board. I'll say it now for those who haven't heard. Micah Parsons has been caught up in hazing things at Penn State and has some real attitude problems announced with him. Rumours have it he's been stripped off a lot of boards in general. And the teams that seem to work on high character, teams like Miami, teams like New England and setups like that, are the teams that might need him, could be the ones removing him. So he might fall quite far. So using that logic, I'm going to remove Parsons from my looks at 6. It's down to 2 names for me. Alabama duo. Patrick Surtain or Devontae Smith. Now, I think Devontae Smith is a better player. I think he's a better fit. I think he's a bigger need. But this is a wide receiver class. So the pick at number 6 is going to be Patrick Surtain. Plays the outside. He reminds me a lot of Jeff Okudah last year, but I actually think he might be better when it comes to hands-on ball. I had issues with Okudah's ball locating skills. Great cornerback, great coverage, but struggled to get his hands on it in the big moments. So I think the big play here is to take Patrick Surtain, and that makes your DB room a lot better. Your 2 cornerbacks on the outside are Slay and Surtain, Coleman in the slot, Mills in the safety. Maybe someone like Rodney McLeod beside him. McLeod's proven to be a good tackler in the box and a good against the run. Normally I would skip to our next pick, but we're going to watch this come up because you can see we're slowly but surely about to get back on the clock here. And this draft, it's going to fall difficult to us. Our holes haven't changed. We still need wide receiver. We still need linebacker. And slowly but surely these positions are knocking off the board. Let's see what linebacker's left. And there's our guy. What a perfect fit. Dylan Moses, linebacker, also Alabama. I think if he came out of the draft last year, he's a top 10 pick. This year his stock, I don't necessarily think it went down. I just don't think it rose anymore. Last year he was a high pick because a lot of people thought he wasn't near his ceiling, but I like him. Very sure-handed tackler. Okay in the passing game, not great, but very, very, very good against the run. Now, I think if you look at the new DC comes out of the Colts, someone like Darius Leonard, who against the pass, if you actually watch him against the pass, is okay. He's incredibly athletic and gets into places, but Leonard against the run is elite. I think Moses could be a similar build. So Dylan Moses is going to be pick 37. leaving us with 2 Alabama players so far. But I'll see at our next overall draft pick. And we're back, and as you can see, I've got a trade lined up. I was watching the board fall, and a name I love in the wide receiver room is Tylen Wallace out of Oklahoma State. I think he's big enough, over 6 foot, but he's very fast and his hands are brilliant, but he's a surprisingly polished route runner. Players fell off the board. Looking at the way the draft is going, I don't think he would be there at 70, so I'm going to trade 2 very late picks to come up to 60 to pick Tylen Wallace. It's a little bit of a reach using their rankings, but I think it's such a team need for Philadelphia, we had to make the move. We've currently got Dylan Moses, the linebacker, Patrick Surtain, the corner, and Tylen Wallace, the wide receiver. I'll see you at our next pick. And we're back on the clock at 1:34, and the draft is falling perfectly to Philadelphia. We've got our wide receiver, we've got our cornerback, we've got our linebacker, and if you heard a minute ago when I was talking about our DB room, I was a bit iffy about our second safety next to Jalen Mills, and here he is, Richard LeCounte. Now, something that I think people don't put value on is someone like Richard LeCounte looked okay, above average, on a good Georgia team. If you put him in Buffalo, he's a top 50 pick because he looks so good in that team. Players, I think, always seem to fall down in rankings whenever they play for better teams. It's a bit of people hunt for problems. This is our final pick in the draft here at 165. We can go across the whole board and look at it. We don't need a quarterback. We don't need a running back. Yes, we could use another wide receiver just to add depth to the room, but don't need it. I would like to maybe add a tight end, but I don't think there's any value here. Same with our tax division, we're good. Interior offensive line, we're still good. I think when you go across the whole class, top to bottom, it's going to be a case of just taking best player available. With a lot of running backs, a lot of wide receivers. I think when you get out of that, you land on Keith Taylor, the cornerback out of Washington. Very fast. Bit more of a project player, but he could be your slot guy. If you decide you don't want to use Roby Coleman in the slot, he could be your guy. But that's the draft overall for the Eagles. Let's get quickly into a review. And we're back for our review. What a draft. I always think when a team's able to play best player available and fill their needs, it's a perfect match made in heaven. Surtain in the first round's a great cornerback. It fills their need, and it gives Slay a partner in crime. Dylan Moses in the second round will be the best linebacker they've had in a few years already before he even touches the field. He's fast, athletic, a great tackler, and he's versatile. You look at the division they're in, Gibson, Barkley, Elliott. You're going to see a fair share of those three over the next 5 years. That's 6 games a year. So you need to be able to stop the run, and he's the start of it. We went into the third round and got Tylen Wallace, trading up a few picks with the Saints to get there. I think he's a great receiver. I think he's very, once again, unlucky with the draft class. A lot of receivers in that vote. Someone like Rashad Bateman, I think, is elite potential, but is the 4th or 5th receiver in the class due to what's in it. I think you're able to get 4th or 5th round receivers in this class. That would be 2nd or 3rd round receivers in previous years. If you want to do research, look up day 2 receivers for the last 4 drafts. The hit rate is sensational. It's about 60% on a 2nd or 3rd round receiver. It's great. We came back and filled our safety hole beside Jalen Mills with Richard LeCounte out of Georgia. Long, rangy, can play over the top, can play up in the box. Really like his potential. And we finished with Keith Taylor, a bit of a build your own cornerback. Very fast, maybe more built to be a slot guy, but very athletic as well. We looked at free agency, couldn't afford a thing. You know, when you look at this roster from today where we sit to what we've just built, it's a better roster. The D-line is what it's always been. You've got Graham and Fletcher Cox and players along those lines. But your DB room becomes so much better. Slay and Surtain on the outside, Nickel Roby Coleman or Keith Taylor in the middle, Jalen Mills at the back end with Richard LeCounte. Your offense, your wide receiver room, I don't want to say Alshon Jeffrey, but sadly he's there. Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward, Jalen Rieger, Marquise Goodwin comes back. There's a speedster to go over the top as well. You still have Deshaun Jackson, and then you add Tylen Wallace. You add that big body guy. That allows you to let go of Alshon Jeffrey. The picks we made makes this team dangerous. In a weak NFC East, they might be the new favourites if they play this draft well. But thank you so much for watching today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another rebuild.